really love going into old antique shops, and this one in Red Lodge was particularly interesting because if you go all the way to the back, you run into this gun cave, and we learned all about the famous guns by Gun Cave Dave.
Here in 1875 Remington. Now Colt and Smith & Wesson get a lot of the press. This is a brand new firearm made in the tradition of the 58 Remington, which is denoted by the way the little screw hole is down below. Really pretty burrow word on this one. And there's two Italian companies that make this stuff in tribute so that it doesn't cost a fortune to play the game. But in this particular instance, I happen to have the granddaddy of that right here. This is a new made, brand new. Background check would be required to buy that. But it wants to be this one when it grows up. Oh. This is an 1875 model Remington, as is this one. But this one was made somewhere between the year 1875 and 1890. And the antiquities law of the ATF in this country is the National Firearms Act, which is what the NFA means, of 1934. It determined that guns aren't guns as far as being regulated until the year 1899. So even states such as, not to pick on them, but to list them, California, New York, Illinois, some of the states that are gun laws are a little tougher. Anyone that wants to have an interest in collecting historical firearms can do so, even in those difficult states, because there's no paperwork required. My funny, smart aleck example is a 12-year-old granddaughter of someone from California could come in with a jar full of quarters from her babysitting gig all summer. She could buy this for her grandfather and give it to him for Father's Day.
Oh my gosh.
Because firearms are regulated from the year 1899 and up. So there are gun laws in place, but they're not, there's no bank robberies done with 44 Remington holding them sideways guns like this. So they don't regulate them because anybody can enjoy them.
So do you have to turn it sideways in order to shoot? I don't know a whole lot about guns.
On the way that the idiots in TV shows do that, they don't.
Yeah.
Nobody does that.
Yeah, okay.
But on CSI, the homeboys are doing that.
Yeah.
It's not done. So my point is,
you
don't regulate that.
Okay.
Because they don't use them and that type of thing. So there isn't a problem with that kind of thing. So this, unlike a Colt, I have Colt stuff as well. Another example are these Civil War pieces.
Wow, you have Civil War pieces?
Yes, and in the Civil War, the firearms were fired with a cap and a ball. But this is actually, both of these were converted to the more modern cartridge to make it a little more modern after the fact. So this would have started life with a cylinder that looks like this, which you put the powder from the Davy Crockett powder horn here. You pour it in there and you mash it down with a lead ball on top, like melting down the lead toys and squishing it in there like they did in the Mel Gibson movie The Patriot. It was his son's toy soldiers. And then that goes in a frame like this one. And this one has two different cylinders. This one shoots cartridge bullets that you can buy at the store. Or you can put it in and teach your grandkids nostalgia of the powder. And then you put this little cap on here. That's why it's called cap and ball. This is that's called a percussion cap. And that goes on the back of that little guy right there. Then all 6 of those have a hole in them. And when the hammer hits that, it makes a little bit of a spark. It's not unlike the flint on a Zippo lighter. The Zippo lighter makes a spark and lights the taller flame to light your cigar with. So this sends a flame through that little hole, and you've already put, remember we just did that a moment ago, we put the powder in, right, first?
Yeah.
So this ignites the bigger powder charge, which sends the ball down the barrel of the gun. That's how these would have been, but these conversion models are in the modern technology. Instead of reinventing the wheel completely, or let's say inventing a new wheel, they did reinvent the old one. These are converted to a cartridge, a 38 rim fire. The hammer here has no firing pin. It just hits the edge, not unlike hitting this, or like a 22 shell. It just has to make contact with the edge. And there's a way that there used to be cartridge rounds that did not have a center fire cartridge in them, like this one. This has a center fire cartridge. And the primer in the middle is what the firing pin of the firearm I'm wearing today happens to be the one that Like Doc Holliday had this on a shoulder rig, like as shown by the great Val Kilmer in the movie Tombstone.
Huh.
But
Look at that.
see, that is a center fire primer. So the firing pin hits that and makes the spark. But in the old days, the hammer of the gun hit it on the rim, not in the center like this one, hit on the edge. So that's the difference between center fire, which is the norm now, and rim fire cartridges. Rim fire is still very prominent in 22s. This is an 1873 Peacemaker Sheriff's model in a bird's head that I'm carrying today. I have more guns than ladies have shoes or purses. It's a fascinating thing for me.
It's very fascinating.
Look at the video up close.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon every day. First to admit it.
It's the Winchester.
This is an 1886 Winchester. The first Winchesters were 1866. Oliver Winchester bought the Henry Company from P. Tyler Henry in about that year. And he kind of reinvented the first repeating rifle was the Henry 1860 that didn't have any wood on the forearm, and it didn't load from this loading gate. Here you press this down, and kind of a diving board thing, and this tube below is the magazine. This is where the fresh bullets go. And then there's a follower in here. There's a spring pushing down all the way back in there. So when you get about 10 of them loaded, when you activate the lever, you can see this follower here. The lifter lifts that up. See how that's starting to go up? It just pushed one in. So then when you fire this, after the first one, the empty casing comes out and goes up and over your head, and the other one is sitting there, so when you push it again, you're repeating.
Oh, that's what they use in the...
Going up and over. And this is an 86 Winchester. This one is in the caliber .40-82, which a .40 caliber bullet is pretty sizable, but 82 grains of powder pushing it. It's like a rocket with a lot of high octane fuel, like a rocket fuel.
Wow.
So it'll shoot very fast and quite flat. Some of the cartridges that had a little less powder, you kind of had to aim a little high and you had to crown the shot in. You maybe at 200 yards you had to aim at what it looks like in the sights. You had to aim about this high above the elk's head, thinking you were going to miss, but you had to.
Oh, because it falls.
You had to be a trigonometry guy in 1895.
Yeah.
And they figured it out just by doing it a lot.
Yeah.
But this is a buffalo rifle for sure. The 86 Winchester. So if you had that, and you had this on your side, you were pretty formidable. This is a firearm like the one Doc Holliday carried. This is a bird's head 1873 model Colt, and he carried it right here. A lot of this is called the sheriff's model because it's only 3 inches long. When you were putting somebody in jail, when you see the movies, the guy takes the bad guy down the hallway. There's usually jail cells on the right and jail cells on the left. So if you had this up here, if you turned your back to those bad guys while unlocking this door to put them in there, you don't want that guy to reach out of the jail cell and pull your gun out.
Oh.
So the sheriff's model was carried closer in.
Oh, okay.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
It means a couple bad guys got the gun and got away. Then they figured it out.
Yeah. So if they wanted to come and buy some of these pieces, it's in Red Lodge, and then what's your shop called?
It's the Red Lodge Antique Mall, and this happens to be the gun room within it. We also have the candy store, the Montana Candy Emporium on the next block, which displays a lot of neat antiques, but the joke there is if you can't eat it, you can't buy it.
Oh, okay.
It's a candy store. I decorate with stuff that isn't for sale there, and I
Okay.
have this stuff for sale.
Thank you so much for explaining some of that.
Sure.
That was a lot more fascinating than I thought it was going to be, but
Knowledge is power. We try to let
exactly.
people leave with more than they knew when they came.
Exactly. I am
Lessons
on
for
board
free.
with that. Thank you so much.